I don't know about you, but I love looking at old art. I don't know, I guess I just get very nostalgic over it, and I truly love seeing how much or how little I've improved since then. If you saw my first video I posted on this channel, then you'd know that I started my digital art journey about a year ago. And a few days ago, I realized that even though Krita crashed me several times, my computer has saved those old illustrations nonetheless. I even looked through them and they gave me a big confidence boost, which I really needed. And that's when I decided to look through my two oldest sketchbooks from 2021. My plan was to make a video about them. However, I also really wanted to create a new illustration. So I decided to redraw an OC from one of those sketchbooks. And I had not drawn this girl since I sketched her on July 25th, 2021. So, yes, I'm not lying to you when I tell you that I have not sketched this girl since I was 13 years old in middle school. It's been a while. Soon after, a light bulb turned on in my head, and I decided to give her some lore as well. I think that if you're an art kid like me, that is very common and you might relate to it. I was so dedicated that I gave her an entire storyline with other characters that I plan to sketch later on. Her name was Olivia originally, but I decided to change it to Camilla because I hadn't seen the name when I was doing her redesign, and I like Camilla better. Her full name is Camila Tamayo Hidalgo, and she is still Cuban, and more specifically, she was born in La Isla de la Juventud. Though she moved to Havana with her parents at the age of 3 when the whole migration process started, or should I say, immigration. She and her parents immigrated to Pasadena, California, and she was 10 years old at the time. Now, you may be wondering, how on earth they afford Pasadena as new Cuban immigrants? Well, they stayed there for 2 years with Camilla's maternal aunt, who works as an orthopedic surgeon. When Camilla started school, she knew a bit of English since her parents, who were both mechanical engineers in Cuba, were able to pay for lessons. However, she spoke with a relatively thick Spanish accent and therefore was isolated by her peers. A year later, when she started middle school, she was paired up with a boy in her science class, and they quickly became the best of friends. That boy is called Liam, and no, I do not have any sketches of him yet. They are very close and have gone to school together since then. At the present time, they are both 16 years old, and they are juniors in high school. However, since this video is not about Liam, let me tell y'all about Camilla's personality. She is definitely weird. Not in a creepy way, but she is kind of like Ron Stoppable from Kim Possible. She loves science and math and wants to be an aerospace engineer, like Liam's mother. She loves the 90s and early 2000s boy bands, with her favorites being NSYNC, Westlife, and the Backstreet Boys. She is socially awkward, hence why she only has one friend. Not to shade on socially awkward people because I can relate. She is kind to everybody, and in her free time, she enjoys hanging out with Liam, buying cute things online, and watching space documentaries. Now that I've talked about her, this is how I try to incorporate those aspects of personality into her design. I gave her a ponytail because I want her to always look lab ready, if that makes sense. If you're in high school, then you're probably sick of hearing stuff about lab safety, especially if you like to wear your hair down. But it's required for students to keep their hair tied back during labs. And since science is one of her favorite classes, I think she'd like to make some simple labs at home herself as well. Hence, why I want her to look lab ready while also neglecting to give her a lab coat because this is her everyday look and I want her personal style to shine through. The reason why I gave her a flowy shirt is because even though she is awkward with people she doesn't know, she is actually very laid back and a bit carefree with her best friend. Plus, they were quite popular in the 2000s, which, as I've mentioned before, she likes to consume media from that time. And that's the same reason why I gave her a jean skirt and boots. I looked up Y2K style on Pinterest and I got a lot of those. I know this was a really big jump, but let me explain. I did not record the line art process because for me, it's just a lot of zooming in and out, and I don't want to make y'all dizzy. For the coloring, I did record the base coloring process, but for some reason, that file is just not working on my computer. I know that it can be hard to believe because, like, really, only that file didn't work. But yeah, please do not accuse me of using AI because I'm not. I've voiced it before on my old TikTok account, and I think on Instagram. I personally do not like AI art. I think it's just awful. However, back to the design choices. First, I wanted to give her a pastel color palette with both of her shirts being yellow and her boots and hairband being brown because I thought that was a cute combination. However, I realized that I wanted her passion for space to shine through. And so I quickly gave up that idea and made her skirt, flowy shirt, and hairband blue. Her boots, I decided to color them a shade of gray to represent stars. I know a lot of people draw stars in yellow, and I actually made her undershirt yellow because of that. But whenever I look up at the night sky, they look silver to me from where I stand. Now, I also want to address some criticisms I have about my own drawing. First of all, later on, I want to try to draw more dynamic poses. I think her pose is fine, but I don't adore how stiff it looks. Furthermore, I did not know what colors to choose for the shirt. I chose to color her as if she was sitting outside while the sun sets because I thought that would be very beautiful. But I could not figure out how that would look on a dark blue shirt. My thought process was the following. Okay, I should start with yellow and then transition to blue. So I chose green since in the color wheel it's between those two. Then I thought it looked jarring, so I chose turquoise. I think it looks fine, but I realized I definitely need some more work, and I truly and definitely need to study colors a lot more. this was all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I truly hope that you consider tuning in for my next video next Wednesday. Bye bye!